right, welcome back, AP Art students. Today, you guys are going to start the process of creating your guided questions for your SUSTAIN investigation. Now, you guys are going to come up with a few questions that you're going to end up creating a proposal for to submit to me. Now, I'm going to review all of y'all's proposals over fall break, and then once we get back, I will be able to meet with you guys individually, discuss the questions that you guys came up with. You guys will select one, and then we'll hit the ground running, starting with your SUSTAIN investigations. So, what this slideshow is intended to do is to pretty much have you guys brainstorm and really narrow down what interests you. Having a SUSTAIN investigation that is important to you is pretty essential just because you guys are going to spend so much time on it. So I'm going to read through these slides. They're going to be a little bit repetitive, but I love this slideshow. I did not make it, but they really do a good job as far as breaking things down into smaller steps in order to create your guiding question. Also, if you had me from Art or for Art 3, you have seen this slideshow before. You have done these things before. You're just going to do it again because this is going to be helpful for your SUSTAIN investigation. Okay. So the idea for every art piece in your SI or your SUSTAIN investigation should be inspired by your guiding question. So remember, we looked at a portfolio on the second day of class. It was that Monday in August. And we looked at a portfolio, and I want to say her portfolio pertained to like the negative effects of certain emotions that teenagers have, and all of her artwork really was a compilation of that topic. So just know whatever you choose, your artwork really has to pertain to that and really investigate that question. So to help identify what is really meaningful to you, we will devote serious time and energy to developing an inquiry or a guided question you're excited about. Here are some basic guidelines. Ask a question about a concept, topic, issue, or subject of personal importance. Or start with a metaphor, quote, experience, or concept, and then ask a question. All of the work on the right might have been inspired by the guiding question, how do we fill the emptiness of 21st century with consumerism? So that is this example here. That is very cool. Oh, look at the lighting there. Love it. All right. Let's see here. Now, we are going to brainstorm, evaluate. You guys will look at your own things that you come up with. Your peers will also look at it. You're going to formulate some questions. You're going to propose those ideas to me. You're not going to present them. However, you are going to reflect them. And then we'll eventually come up with a question that you guys will use for your SUSTAIN investigation. Now, the first step is to brainstorm. So we need to take inventory of your art, your interests, and things you are curious about. Now, what fascinates you? Each piece in your SUSTAIN investigation should be inspired by your inquiry question or your guided question. So developing that question is an important first step. Your inquiry needs to be focused on what makes you tick and what you daydream about when your mind wanders. It all begins with ideation, coming up with ideas. Now, we need to take inventory of your interests. To help identify what is meaningful to you, complete a personal interests inventory and study your answers. Now, we're actually not going to do this, but I want you to be thinking about what you really are interested in as I'm talking today. Also, I want you to think about what you really like to create. Now, if you're a person like me who loves to focus on portraits, think about how you could include portraits into your sustain investigation. If you're someone who likes to work with mixed media, think about how your mixed media could be included in your sustain investigation and so forth. So really take inventory of that. Also, think about your most successful piece in art, and I want you to think of how you could build off of that. How could you do that again and amplify it a little bit more? So think about that just for a second of how could you branch off of art that you've already created, or how could you continue creating art that you really enjoy? Okay, so today the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write down 20 curiosities. So write down 20 or more subjects, themes, places, things, activities, or issues that are personally relevant to you. List every possible topic that interests you, including those that are unusual, challenging, controversial, gritty, or inspiring. Include random things that you're curious about, such as the art room sink or heirloom knives and forks in your kitchen drawer. You must list at least 20. I'm going to give you guys 25 to 30 minutes to do this. Get out a sheet of paper and write these down. Go ahead and pause this video, and once that 25 to 30 minutes is up, continue. All right, you should be done with your 20 plus curiosities. Now, I want us to brainstorm a little bit more now that you've kind of come up with pretty much a list of things that pertain to your interests. And hopefully writing the curiosities wasn't too difficult. I know that writing like the first 15 for me was pretty easy, but when I got to the last 5, I was like, oh my goodness, I have nothing left. So hopefully it wasn't too difficult. Okay, I'm going to skip this here, but if you wanted to go back to the slideshow, it talks about different ways to brainstorm. Now we're going to focus on mind mapping today, but there's other methods too called Scamper, Synetics, Divergent Thinking. Okay, so you guys are going to create a mind map, and you are going to underline or circle 3 of the most interesting ideas from your list. They may vary widely, or they might be pretty similar. Now, I know with my Art 3 last year, I was sharing all of my 20 curiosities, but the 3 that I chose really revolved around motherhood. Just because that was something that was really prevalent to me at the time and still is. It was very current. So, what I'm trying to say is it's okay if the 3 that you choose are pretty similar, and it's okay if they're not. So, what we're going to do when we're creating our mind maps, we're trying to investigate your topic further to find some subtopics. And then we're going to make new connections to your subtopic and then determine theme of your investigation. Now, you guys are going to watch a mind map video, and I'm going to have that attached in Google Classroom. So, I'm going to talk about this first, and then you're going to pause the video and go watch that. So you guys will write each topic in the middle of your sketchbook page or any type of paper you want. And you're going to create a mind map with that topic. So you're ultimately going to create 3 different mind maps, so 3 different pages for each topic. This is having you explore those 3 topics a little bit further. You're going to make a word web by branching out with more specific topics. You might see a concept in your brainstorming that makes more sense in terms of scope than your original idea. Okay, so this might finish the day off. You guys will jump back to this video tomorrow. Most likely, if not, it's okay. But go ahead and pause this video or end this video, and for the remainder of class, now if there's a whole lot of time left in class, really only take about 30 to 45 minutes to do this. But I want you guys to create 3 mind maps, okay? First, watch the video in Google Classroom, then create those 3 mind maps. And I'll see you guys in, well, a couple seconds or tomorrow. All right, so hopefully you guys have already created your 20 curiosities and your 3 mind maps. Now we're going to narrow it down. We're going to examine and evaluate your ideas based on feasibility, scope, focus, originality, and personal interest. Now, again, personal connection is key. Students who select substantial, heartfelt issues that they really believe in are more likely to achieve great results than those who choose aesthetically pleasing but superficial subjects. So, really having something that is important to you is important, really, is key. So, we really need to think about what is feasible. And what this means is you guys are going to be creating all of your own reference photos. So if you're trying to create a sustained investigation about space, are you really going to be able to go up in space and take your own reference photos? No. So think about which one is feasible for you. So I'm just going to read these here. Eliminate subjects you are unable to explore firsthand. In order to create art, you will need access to high quality reference imagery. Relying on photographs taken by others is not an option. No matter how awesome an idea appears, if you are unable to explore any aspect of it firsthand, you will not be able to do it justice. So here are some questions. Do you have the ability to study this topic? Do you have access to the information needed? Do you have the capability to take your own reference photos for this topic, or better yet, access your subject matter to work from observation? Now, this is another way to narrow down your list. You don't want to create something that is cheesy or cliche or overly pretty or excessively simple. This slideshow references not aesthetically pleasing things. I've never seen an instance where that hasn't ever been encountered, but I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think something that is not aesthetically pleasing sometimes really draws you in. So I'm just going to ignore that one. Okay, so copyrights and cliches. The artwork presented in the AP portfolio should entirely consist of original works. We need to stay away from anything that is cliche, and so forth. So it needs to be all yours. Now, here's some great examples, or a great example here of copyrights. or plagiarism that had taken place in art. Since you are selecting your own subject, you may want to recreate characters from cartoons, anime, movies, or draw from photos found online. That might be okay when you're practicing in your sketchbook, but it is not acceptable as part of the AP portfolio. Reference photos should either have been taken by you or the public domain. So really, using royalty-free images is okay as long as you cite it. Now, this instance, they did not do that. They are pretty much copying this artwork here. So this is plagiarism right here. We do not want to do that. They will also not score your pieces if they find it plagiarized. So when you go and look for your score, I forgot what pops up, but it pretty much just says it's voided. Here's some great examples of cliches. Cliches are just things that are overly done and very stereotypical and not original at all. So I don't know if you guys remember this. This is like very 2010. Well, I guess, gosh, you guys were barely walking around at that time. That's crazy. But anyway, the whole crayons thing and creating silhouettes and melting those crayons, that is overly done. Okay, swans, a lone wolf, these are things that have been done time and time again. And I'm just going to read this here. A cliche is an expression, idea, or element of an artistic work which has been overused to the point of losing its original meaning or effect, especially when at some earlier time it was considered meaningful. If you choose a cliche or stereotypical topic, it will be very difficult to make your work original. It is strongly recommended that you avoid cliches in your work. And then again, I've been repeating this over and over, but personal interest is key. So why do you care? You guys are going to be working on this topic for 8 months, not additional months for you, but around 8 months. And you had better not get sick of it just for that reason. You're going to spend so much time on it. So ensure the topic you choose is something that you really care about and which you can sustain your interest for a year. A common mistake is to choose a topic you think the readers will be impressed with, but one that you are not passionate about. So today, I want you to talk it out, play devil's advocate chat. Talk to a classmate for 5 minutes about the idea you're most excited about. This should be someone you trust and have a good rapport with. So find a buddy right next to you, have someone to talk to, and ask them to criticize your topic and play devil's advocate. They should be arguing reasons why your ideas should not be a good inquiry to investigate with art making. You should be defending your ideas. If you feel like you can answer most of the criticisms, even if you think of the defense after the talk, you probably have a good topic. Now, it's okay if this doesn't go that well and you don't know how to defend your answers. It's new to you, but I do want you to take about 5 minutes, pause the video, at least talk about your ideas with the person next to you or across from you. Okay, I'm going to skip this one. All right, so now we're going to start formulating questions today. And I want to let you know these questions are not going to be your final questions, so they don't have to be the prettiest. In fact, they can be pretty ugly as long as they really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really explore what you're trying to convey. Yes. So It's okay if your questions are ugly. All right. Inquiry questions should stimulate thinking and allow for reasoning, answers, and evidence. A statement implies that it is complete and that the answer has already been found. An inquiry or guided question can be explored and examined. Now, I'm going to be honest, when we did our training over the summer, there were some portfolios that had a guided statement, and they still did well. However, I want you guys to formulate questions just because those AP readers only spend about 10 minutes grading your portfolio. And I feel as if you have a guided question, it would be very clear as to what you're investigating. Okay, so what is an essential guided question? The question is essential if it is open-ended. That means it typically will not have a single, final, and correct answer. It's essential if it is thought-provoking and intellectually engaging, often sparking discussion and debate. It's essential if it calls for higher order thinking, such as analysis, inference, evaluation, and prediction. It cannot be, or it's essential, if it cannot be effectively answered from memory. It requires research or investigation to develop an answer. The question is essential if it points towards important transferable ideas within and sometimes across disciplines. It's essential if it requires support and justification, not just an answer. And it's essential if it recurs over time. That is, the question can and should be revisited again and again. So you guys are going to formulate your questions today. And once you've narrowed down your list and you had those three topics, sorry, my brain was not working. Once you've narrowed your list down, wow, develop 3 open-ended questions for each topic that might drive a sustained investigation. So 9 questions total. So with each topic that you created a mind map for, I want you to create 3 questions for that topic. It's okay if they sound similar, but I do want you to try to word it in a way that leaves it very open. So these are some great stems or how you could start your question. And then again, at this point, no question is a bad question. Write down whatever you come up with. We will refine it as you work on your pieces throughout the year. So pause this video. You guys are going to come up with 9 questions total. And then look at this too. This is a great image for you to look at and to help you formulate your questions. Now, real quick, before you pause the video, I'm going to skip over here and show you some examples. Some of these have been used in the past. So the first example is, what is the relationship of exterior and interior spaces in architecture? The next example asks, how can individual experiences and pressures affect a teenager's subconscious thoughts and actions? Another example is, how can art reveal the subtle complexities and perspectives that result from being and feeling lonely? And then another example is, why are dress codes more restrictive for females? So here are some examples. I'm going to go back to this slide, pause the video for 15 to 20 minutes, and come up with 9 questions. Okay, you should have your 9 questions. Now, I'm going to jump over to this slide. And what I want you to do is I want you to grade your questions. So just want you to grade your questions on just a regular scale, so A, B, C, or D. And you are just really looking to see which one is the best. So go ahead and take a minute to do that. All right, once you're done grading your questions, I'm going to read this slide. So important note, you will start the year with one inquiry question, but as you create art, your question may evolve from one piece to the next. It should be a living, breathing investigation that can grow as you work, like a tree that grows and branches out. Your inquiry or guided question may splinter into multiple, more specific questions. There may be many branches, but they are all connected to the central trunk. You don't need to know where the line of inquiry may lead. Okay. Now that you've come up with some questions, I want you to propose these questions. Now, I'm going to show you an example that another teacher did, but what you're going to do is you're going to create a presentation or a slideshow for these proposals. So, actually first, I'm going to show you what's in your folder. And this should be the second to last thing in your folder. I believe it's before the rubric. And this is, why is this not showing? There we go. This should be right before the rubric, is what I'm trying to say. And this is just a list of directions that you guys have for this. Now, you are going to do this in Google Slides, or if you have PowerPoint presentation on your computer, that works too. Google Slides, I know you guys have on your Chromebooks. But anyway, you are going to show me your plan A, your plan B, and your plan C. So your best question that you come up with, your second best question, and your third best. And you're going to identify the question that you came up with, and then you're going to pretty much answer these questions. So how does or how will the work of your sustained investigation demonstrate the exploration of your idea? You need to create or show me at least 2 inspiration artists and explain how they're going to connect to your work. I want to see that you're looking at other people to gain inspiration from. Now, you're not going to copy their work, but I do want to see who you're looking at, whether you're looking at their subject matter or their medium or how they, or what their style is. You're going to show the mind map that you created, leading to the potential directions of this inquiry. So upload that mind map. Then you're going to include photographs of work already completed or sketches of proposed pieces. Most likely you're just going to have sketches of proposed pieces. I don't expect you guys to have started on this at all. But anyway, you're going to show your sketches. Total of 5 images, drawings, and photographs. Drawings should be half sheet, detailed sketches with labels and color. And then you're going to show 3 photo references and the potential to easily create many more. I'll show you the teacher's example here in just a second. Then for your plan B and C, you don't have to do as much. So you're just going to show or write your questions. Then you're going to show the mind maps that you created. Then you're going to include photographs of work already completed, but most likely sketches of your proposed pieces. A total of 3 images, drawings, or photographs. And then your drawing should be half sheet detailed sketches with labels and color. Make sure your sketches look like finished sketches. They should not be done quickly with pencil. And then optional for this one, inspiration artists for these. But it is recommended. And then here is your rubric that I'll be grading you upon, and you can look that over in your folder. Now let me go to the slideshow. You can make this as pretty as you want it. You guys will have about 2 weeks on this. So honestly, the more time you spend on this, the better. Again, take your time on these sketches. This example, she has sketches in here, but they're not that great. I expect y'all's to be better. Okay, so she has a nice first slide here, and she's telling me this is the sustained investigation proposal, and then she also gave her name. Then she lists out her plan A, her plan B, and her plan C. And then she lists the statements, or pretty much the theme, and then this one she lists the question. So plan A, she goes through and she explains it. So she says, the central idea of my sustained investigation is my baby daughter. I want to create a series of work around her, how she interacts with the world, and how she grows and develops. I am interested in seeing how she grows over time, along with my work about her. And then she says, my sustained investigation will start by focusing on my daughter's development from crawling to standing, as well as other activities. I am interested in exploring dynamic compositions, showing her movements. I will also create portraits of her, and my focus might shift around in how closely I examine my subject and how much background setting I include in each piece. So she really went in depth as far as explaining what her overall intentions are. Then she goes in and shows her mind map. Your mind map is going to look a lot better than this. You can tell that she did this very quickly, but she included that image. Then she included her sketches. Again, yours are going to be colored and fleshed out. They are not going to be quickly done in pencil or pen. But she did include at least 3 images of her sketches. Then she showed her reference photos. So she's showing how easily she can access, I guess her daughter in this case, but access her reference photos for her sustained investigation. And then she shows her artistic or artist inspiration. So she is very interested in Mary Cassatt, love her, and she explains why. And then Alice Neel as well. And then she also shows a third inspiration. Now she goes to plan B. She explains again what she is going to investigate and explore. She shows her mind map. Again, yours is going to look better. And then her sketches. Again, yours is going to look better. And then inspirations. And then plan C. Same thing. And then inspirations for that as well. All right. So for the next 2 weeks, you guys are going to create some Google Slides proposing me your questions. Again, you're going to start off with plan A. Make sure to read through these and make sure you include these into your slides. And then along with that, you're going to include plans B and C. Again, I'm going to review these over fall break. And then once we get back, we're going to get started. Please email me if you have any questions whatsoever. And with that being said, you guys have fun exploring your sustained investigation potential topics. And that is it. I will see you guys after fall break. Bye.